Hello again everybody, and a very warm welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be having a little look at the new FSS Tecnam P2006 Tango Mk2 add-on, releasing very soon to Microsoft Flight Simulator. From the folks who have been creating the Embraer 175 series as well, that early access that has had mixed reviews and a mixed reception from the community. But this is going to be their latest aircraft. Today we're going to head out of Roturua for a little flight around the North Island of New Zealand. And we're going to explore some of the features this aircraft add-on has to offer, and I'll be sharing my thoughts and opinion with you guys too. But as always, make sure you hit the like button down below, click subscribe if you're new to the channel, warm welcome on board to you if you are, and share your thoughts in the comments below. So there are a number of things that we're going to explore throughout today. They've got a customised version of the G1000 NXI by working title. There's a custom S-Tech 55X Autopilot and a custom tablet inside too, along with a whole host of other options, with the inclusion of an easy mode and a realistic mode too. So we're using realistic mode today, but there is another way that you can trigger it to use sort of the MSFS default engine startup sequence and systems and that sort of thing as well, if you want a slightly easier experience. In terms of those operation modes that we were just talking about, the add-on features a realistic mode that includes circuit breakers within the aeroplane for failure simulation, emergency gear deployment system simulation, and a walk-around that's required to operate the aircraft. And that includes things like rotating the props to push oil through before engine start. The easy mode disables the circuit breakers, and it has MSFS default engine and startup models within it, as a bit of a difference and a contrast there. The FlightSim Studio AG folks have put together a load of documentation on their website which allow you to learn the aeroplane, the performance limitations, normal procedures, checklists, how to manage the weight and balance, and the autopilot, amongst a few other things as well. So if you do think, actually, I'm going to purchase this aeroplane for my sim experience, then you'll be able to find out more information via their website. And the links, of course, will be down below in the description too. Jumping into the flight deck, it seems quite cramped at first sort of glimpse, and the temptation really, for me at least, is to zoom out a little bit, or at least try and move that camera view back a bit too. If you look left and right, however, it's a strange layout of a flight deck regardless. You look left and you're greeted with the wall of the aeroplane, so you kind of have to look and lean to have a little look at those engines. Otherwise, it's quite nice. There's the checklist selection here, so you can look at your 4-engine start checks and work through those checklists in a nice, easy to read sort of format. There, handy location, and the cockpit, the textures certainly look quite nice too. In relation to price, those of you who are wondering, we don't yet know the price upon release, nor the release date, though it is only a few days away, having just had that New Zealand World Update released from Microsoft Flight Simulator 2. 4 seats on the aeroplane, including the pilot, so 3 additional seats, and that is the rear cabin area here too. And there are things that are modelled, like the emergency exit and the roof. The doors are animated, complete with sounds. There's a lot of custom sounds with this aeroplane included too. And as well, on the first officer's side is the tablet, which you can turn on. It then gives you a number of features on the aeroplane to explore, including your weight management selection there, an option page too, so you can choose whether or not you have a ground power unit active or not. You can flick easily between the 2 operation modes that we were speaking about, easy and realistic. So the one that we're selected at the moment, highlighted in red, is realistic. If we wanted to flick across to easy operation mode, we just click across like so. And you can also choose between cold and dark, which is how we're loaded at the moment, and ready to start to skip all of those pre-flight checks. Simple click and drag for sorting out your load, and you can configure that to however you wish. On the pre-flight then, so this is the sort of virtual walk around, if you like. We can go through and look at all the things that are checked, like the flaps. Starting at 1 down here, we can walk through each of the setups. Now this is where we need to think about propping and priming the engines, as we were talking about rotating in realistic mode those propellers. So we can work through and have a little look at all of these. If we were to click 2, we can click the prop in this view and rotate it to hear a bit of a burp or a bubbly noise. Two of those primes the engine ready for start. We can click the chocks. That then shows that that is sorted out. And it ticks off number 2. Aileron movement and tie downs, so the third. We can click it, pre-flight, and we can click the tie down to remove the tie down. Number 4, rudder and elevator. I'm not using controls, using the click spots included in the pre-flight walkaround. And again, these are all being checked off as we complete them. Aileron movement and tie down for the right wing. And again, prop, so minimum 2 rotations, tire inflation condition unchecked, wheel chocks unchecked, but fuel and quantity are checked already. So, as before, we can remove the chocks. Two rotations of the prop here in those sort of burpy or bubbly noises. And then finally, pitot covers, front wheel chocks. And that is everything complete. They also have a nav map inside here too, which is nice. So directly inside the aeroplane at the side of the tablet, you have got a map that you can zoom in and out of. However, the Garmin 1000 map is pretty good and comprehensive anyway. Now, as with any new aeroplane, always advise you sort of familiarise yourself with the aircraft, its instrument layouts and the systems that it operates within as well. So park brakes down here, cabin heat. And there aren't many switches. If we hide both of these, you've got all the lights on the right hand side, flaps up, takeoff or land. So there's a couple of settings for those. They're all of the circuit breakers, which are all animated for the purpose of realistic failures and things. And then on the left hand side, fire system detection, pitch trim disconnect, rudder trim disconnect, pitot heat, autopilot, and so on. And then the big G1000 kit. Go for a little VFR flight. So, put the master switch on. Nav lights on. Fuel quantities. We've already checked those. We've got indications here as well on the G1000 system. I'm going to work through the checklists and we're going to begin to start the engines. So initially, a very quick startup. For engine right. And for the left engine. Again, a very quick engine start. Flap animations, complete with custom noises. And with everything else done, let's go flying. It's initially quite difficult to kind of see on the ground where you're going. Using Tobii Eye Tracker today to have a little look around as we're taxiing, but obviously the lean mode could come in quite handy as a function of the Tobii Eye Tracker here in this instance. We're just going to go for a little test flight and then basically come back here to Roturua. The airport itself is included in the New Zealand World Update, which came out the other day, and you basically want to go to the NZRO Simulations website and download some additional packs in order to increase the level of immersion here at this airport, and that is also free. This aircraft though, keeping it sort of on topic with the aeroplane release, it's going to be a payware aircraft. As we said at the beginning, we don't know what price it's going to be. So we're effectively waiting for further information from the folks at FSS in relation to pricing and a formal final release date. This particular aeroplane is an experimental branch of the add-on, so there may be bugs, tweaks, issues with it. And of course it goes without saying, but some features on the final release product may change. One thing on the ground, found that it accelerates incredibly quickly. And because of the short taxi, what we've done is we've already worked through all of these checks as well. On the checklist, by clicking the little arrow, it flicks it to the other side so you can continue with all your sort of summarized checks. We can look at things like climb, so make sure manifold pressure is 27 inches, above 200 feet above ground level, RPM's 2250, climb, fuel pumps go off, landing taxi lights off, flaps up, and so on and so forth through the flight. But a lot of it we're going to just kind of experiment with on in flight. Looking for 65 knots. Little R on the Garmin display showing rotate there. There we are. Away we go. It's got the ability to have gear up, so we'll tap on the toe brakes. We'll retract the gear. Those of you who like to see the gear animations, from the outside, looks like that. I find in the sort of early moments of flying this, the autopilot is a little bit not violent, but very sort of harsh with inputs. So we're leveling off at the moment. I get it's a bit turbulent with live weather at the moment, but we increase to 800 feet per minute. It immediately commands for it, which is fine. These are things, you know, that you need to get used to with a new aeroplane when learning to fly them. If we now go to 330 degrees, or in fact, let's go 030 degrees. See the flight director to command the aeroplane there for the turn. We should be leveling off at 4,000 feet now anyway. You see that's active and the annunciator at the top. We spoke about the emergency landing gear extension being one of the features in the realistic mode, and for that you'd have to pull the landing gear circuit breaker on the right hand side of the sort of cockpit to simulate the electrical failure to the landing gear system, and then you deploy the landing gear by moving the landing gear lever to the down position. From then, underneath the pilot's seat, there is the emergency gear extension hatch. And you want to rotate this knob by clicking it and then wait for about 20 seconds, and then you should get the gravity extension on the aircraft. Let's come back round on ourselves. When the aircraft does release, it's going to be available on the Aerosoft website and the MSFS in-game marketplace as well, for those of you who use that for purchase. So with that, I would imagine it will find its way onto the Xbox system too, for those of you who fly Microsoft Flight Simulator on Xbox. So one of the variants that they are also going to be releasing within the package is a livery called the Special Mission Platform version, and it's based upon the Maritime Reconnaissance Intelligence model from the, I think, Guardia Civil in Spain. And with that, the aircraft then has two glass roofs that allow the pilot and the co-pilot to have a view to the top of the cabin. They have a cover and a shade that you can click to then stow and unstow it, and in the rear there's a load of camera equipment which currently is visual only. They're hoping to add the relevant functionality in the future for that too. They've also added in a feature that allows you to add unique objects to the aeroplane based upon your personal preference. And in the documentation on the website, they've gone into detail about how to do that, and it involves the use of systems like Blender. Nearer to release, or just after release, they will be adding in information about how to place those objects and how to troubleshoot, but in effect you need a few things as a prerequisite to add the objects in, and the information is on the FlightSim Studio website in their Documents tab for the Tecnam P2006T. Functionality of the Garmin G1000 NXI is as you would expect it. For those of you who use it a lot, you would be quite familiar with it, I would imagine, and that allows you to input things like arrival data into the aeroplane as well, in addition to nice complex routes. And that includes things like this. So flying back into Roturua, we can add a VOR DME approach in place. We can have a little look at visual approaches as well. So visual for 3.6, and there's some RNAV approaches too. Within it we can add our own minimums, and there we go. It's given us our route. So we could hand fly the whole thing if we want to. Very bumpy. It's incredibly playful with turbulence. And I find the trim takes a long time for it to kick in as well. Now this is the experimental version, or it's like a beta testing branch I should say, and therefore the trim disconnect is off because that is how it's currently linked. So in reality they would be on, and it will be fixed in the release version, we've been assured. So we've got full flap now, extended. Prop RPM is full as well. It looks like we now have a bit of a crosswind to contend with on final as well. So far I found it quite easy to fly. It's very responsive, incredibly responsive, so you can find that your control inputs can be a little bit too harsh at times, and these are things that you need to refine and gauge when you're getting used to a new aeroplane anyway at the best of times. Go gear down. Lots of craziness going on with the scenery loading in around us here. It's a little distracting on final, but otherwise we're all good. 75 knots, very slow. Gives us a lot of time to sort ourselves out on approach. Hold in the flare. And down. And then gently on the brakes to decelerate. So all round, it's a bit of a whistle-stop tour, a bit of a review of a beta stage aircraft that's releasing imminently, but all round the flight model seems quite nice. It's a little bit playful, But certainly in contrast to their Embraer that they're creating at the moment for MSFS, this is much, much, much better. And feels a lot more complete too. On release, some of the bugs and some of the things that we've discussed throughout today, we've been told are going to be fixed on the final release variant, like those trim disconnect switches. But in the main, this is basically ready to go. It's going to be interesting actually to see sort of the routes that you guys will be flying. For those of you who do think you want to purchase the aeroplane, it's got a fairly decent little capability. The Guardia Civil in Spain use it for sort of military purposes, but it could be used for short hops around the Alps and things too. And then finally for engine off. Very quick shutdown actually, to be fair. So the aeroplane's engines shut down almost as quick as they started. But there we have it, the Tecnam P2006 Tango from the folks at FlightSim Studio AG. The aircraft's going to be releasing right at the end of February into early March 2023 on the Aerosoft shop and the MSFS marketplace at some point later after that for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Share your thoughts in the comments below, let us know what you think. All the links are in the description. And I hope to see you guys in a live stream in the very near future. But as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.